We were.
I've got tickets
We
for.
could have gone. Patricia had that.
I've got tickets for the November 5th game. If you want them, I'll give them to you. Gotta think about it though, because
Is it a Sunday again? Well, here's the calendar. It's Monday night.
I might be wrong on the date.
Yeah.
It might be the 4th, but it's early November, and I don't even know who the tickets are for, but I'll just give them to you. Not I sell them. But the thing is, the hotels, you gotta kind of think in advance.
Oh.
But it's really fun.
Yeah, that's what I've always heard. My son-in-law, who's a real Eagles fan, when they played there, he's screams and everything.
Was this
He said-
recently?
No, a couple years ago.
I was at that game.
And he said, Michael said, people are invite you over their house, the people in your state park, and it's just.
I was at that game a couple of years ago, and it was cold.
Yeah.
It had snowed the day before, and it was all slushy. And every year I go to a Badger game and a Packer.
That's where our building official is. He's at the Packer game.
Was?
He went up to Wisconsin. For
Yeah,
that.
and my business partner, Schmitty, was at the game last night.
Yeah, that's where he went.
Yeah. Good. It was a good ending. It wasn't a good game, but it was a good ending.
Those people are some kind of diehards because it gets some kind of cold.
I am such a big Packer fan.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Have you ever been to a game?
I've season tickets.
To go up there?
Yeah.
You are serious.
And a shareholder.
In
And
what?
That's right.
the team is publicly traded, and all my kids for,
Right, so
for
for some
Christmas
reason it's
presents
not
have
letting me
gotten Packer stock. Yeah, it's fun.
I did
When
not.
did you inherit
Is
them?
it
Or
Yeah,
did
it's
you,
not when my dad passed away. He
No.
left me the tickets.
I would imagine
You
they
have to
probably had
inherit
that.
them. I put Max when he was 3 or 4 on the waiting list. He started out at 132,000. He's under 100,000. He's 99,000 something. I said, Max, unfortunately, you're not the oldest kid. You're gonna have to fight with Ryan for these tickets, and you're never gonna get season tickets.
Did they ever live in Wisconsin? Your kids, did they ever live in Wisconsin?
Never. And they're all big Packer fans.
You always out here. You always.
They were all born and raised here.
City Hall officially used 5.0.
I lived here 2 years when Ryan was born, my oldest son.
That worked right away.
Excellent.
I guess that's the one you gotta be on.
7 o'clock.
Let's do it,
7
guys.
o'clock, just in time.
Let's have a meeting. Burton, I love this.
Good, I'm glad.
It's very cool. He talked me into buying an Apple Watch.
Okay, I would like to call the meeting to order, please. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Anstandig?
Here.
Councilmember Rogers?
Here.
Councilmember Turner? Here. Councilmember Wolsheimer?
Here.
And Mayor Craig?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any changes to the orders of the day?
No, there are not.
Okay, and at this time, we are at oral communications. At this point, anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any topic that is not on the agenda can come forth and do so. And seeing none, before we move on, though, I do want to just kind of put a placeholder in because Jack Lucas, who is on the board of the West Valley College and the president of the West Valley College, would like to come in and speak with us for a couple minutes on Measure W, which is a bond program that they're putting together to expand the college. They're currently at the Los Gatos Town Council meeting, and I told them I would try to fit them in as soon as they got here. So hopefully we won't have any
Come on in.
objections to that. So with that, we'll move to written communications. And I think we have just some of these emails that we've all received. And that takes us to the consent calendar. Do I have any changes to the consent calendar? Or if not, I will ask for a motion to approve it.
I don't have it on my Thank
Okay. So waiting for our motion button. Motion button
you. No, I don't have a
not come
motion
up
button.
yet.
Oh, she has to.
Crank it up.
No.
My 15 minutes of fame, making
No.
a motion.
Proof you were here.
Really. I make a verbal motion.
Sure.
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So by the way, congratulations to our new Site and Architecture Commissioners, thank you very much for volunteering for another term.
There's the motion button.
Okay, great. So item number 6, proposed changes to the city's tree preservation regulations. And I think, Jeannie, you look like you're starting up and ready to give us a staff report.
Yeah. Again, it's my pleasure to be before you all. As stated in the staff report, if you can recall, back in March of this year, we came before you with some information and some thoughts on our tree preservation regulations and what other cities do, and got some initial direction from the council on what they'd like to see. I've subsequently also taken that to Site and Architecture, since they are one of the decision-making bodies related to the tree removal requests, to get their input also and/or concurrence with the direction that council gave us. What I have put together, which is in the staff report, is kind of this matrix, which has, what the council direction was from that initial discussion, what Site and Architecture thought about that, and if they had any additional comments, and then based on those, what staff would recommend. So, we can go through them individually, or if you guys have any questions on any of the staff recommendations or further direction, I think that's our hope, is that comes out of the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. And I see a question from Councilmember Wilsheimer.
What is the reason for the distinction between the various types of eucalyptus trees?
Well,
The blue, red gum, and the hillside.
yeah, so most people don't realize that there is a whole range of eucalyptus trees. Some are beautiful ones used in landscape that are not the self-shedding type ones, and they have a lot of value to the landscape. The ones that are considered the fire hazards and that you typically see in our landscape that were used as windbreaks and found their way into the riparian corridors are the blue gum and the red gum, and those are the ones that grow really tall. They're pretty they don't have a very strong structure, and they're self-shedding. Mm-hmm. So there is, I went through and I looked them up. Although I'm only a planner, I've dealt with trees for 30 years. I did a lot of tree removals in San Jose, and there are a lot of varieties of eucalyptus that are used in commercial landscaping, in residential landscaping, some really for purpose of their aroma. They are very aromatic, yet don't have the shedding bark and don't have the same sort of litter that the blue and the red gum eucalyptus have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Jeannie? Yes, Councilmember Anstanding.
With respect to the penalties for removal without a permit, Site and Architecture recommended a significant increase to 1,000, and you came back, or not, maybe not you, but staff came back with 200. I was just wondering what the thoughts were about that distinction.
I'm going to be so bold as to say, a lot of times those penalties are not imposed on people. It really is having them come in for a permit so that we can get that mitigation, which may be, 2 trees for every one or more. So, we can do a penalty whether or not, it's 1,000 or 200. The question is, what is the direction going to be as far as imposition of it? Since I've been here, there has not been a fine. I think most people are understanding of the regulations. The couple trees that I've seen that have been removed without benefit of a permit it was not intentional to take a tree out that they thought they wouldn't get approved to take out. So again, I think the city's position is to really try to work with things with the property owners. If we do get the fine, I guess it goes into the general. I don't have the attorney here, but my assumption is it goes into the general fund.
It does.
Because we don't, a lot of times when cities do impose the fines, it'll go into a specific fund to go into tree plantings in the public right-of-way or stuff. This city really doesn't have that, so it would just go into the general fund.
2 follow-ups to that. Who makes the decision about assessing a fine or not assessing a fine if it's discovered that a tree is removed without being properly permitted?
It may be a collective decision on our part as far as, did the act really, rise to the, was it truly an event that warranted a fine? Was it done with malice or something like that?
I think some of the things that we might consider would be, there are occasionally folks who just don't know that we have particular regulations. It's not uncommon. I think, sometimes we take that into consideration. In general, the city of Monte Sereno is fairly gentle when it comes to enforcement and fining. But I think that if, we do have a situation, which I believe we've not had since you've been here,
Not since
where
I've been
it's
here,
very egregious, where they definitely knew the regulations and, just blatantly didn't follow them, we certainly would fine them in those cases.
So when you say we, who's we?
Well, we as I say we as in the city.
Who makes the decision?
Well, it is, sometimes it's a coordination between Jeannie, code enforcement officer.
The fine really has to be imposed through an administrative citation, so that would be a code enforcement. I think the code enforcement officer would consult with either myself and or the attorneys or other before.
The reason I'm asking is, we're still plagued with a lawsuit over fences that weren't done in compliance with our city code from long ago, and it was determined that the individual would be fined, and that's what led to this crazy lawsuit that we've been fighting it with. It's still in the courts. And I just wanted to clarify who it was that makes the decision, and then if a decision's made, is there any appeal right that comes to the council to either say that it was assessed correctly or not? Or?
Yes, there is an appeal of a situation. If a fine is imposed through administrative remedy, the person who's been fined, can appeal that decision. Typically, we have a code enforcement officer that's part-time. That currently comes once every 2 weeks for an 8-hour shift. And as part of her being here, I have instructed her, and we've started, she comes and she meets with me, and we kind of go through the cases to see how, what's going on and what's happening and how we should be proceeding. But many times, of course, we work in concert with Jeannie, depending on if it's a land use issue, in this case a tree permit, or if it's a building code violation, we work with Rob. But there's definitely a coordinated effort there. But yes, if in the event an individual is fined, they do have recourse, and in this city, the adjudicating body is the city council.
Okay. I guess the other question I have goes to the third page of the handout, and it's the clarification of the appeal process related to tree removal permit. And the city council or site and architecture provided no input on that issue. And here's where I got confused. It says clarify that there is no appeal of an administrative decision by staff as allowed by the code. And then the second bullet point says include reference to the appeal. So it sounded like there was appeal, but there isn't appeal.
Let me explain. So one of the directions that we're going to go in with some of these changes, more specifically when we create a list of undesirable trees or state that you can remove a dead tree, we didn't want them just to remove them without us acknowledging that, yes, in fact, it is dead, and yes, that is, one of the undesirable trees. So we're still going to require them to apply for tree removal for us to validate that it is dead and or it is on the list of undesirable trees. And that would be acted on by staff, so in an administrative capacity. If they were to apply to remove a dead tree and it was a deciduous tree and it's the dead of winter and I wasn't convinced that it was dead and they didn't want to submit an arborist report to say it was dead despite it being in the middle of winter, I would not approve that. Their remedy is to apply for a site development permit to go in front of site and architecture. So that's what's meant by clarify that there's no appeal of my decision to deny that request to remove the dead tree because we couldn't prove that it was. Their remedy is not an appeal. Their remedy is to apply for another removal permit to go in front of the decision-making body. Then if the site and architecture doesn't agree and they deny it, then there's the appeal process starts from there. And then also in the existing language, to kind of address maybe what you thought wasn't real clear, was to really just kind of work with all that language. And so there'll be some new language going in related to if they do want to remove a dead tree or an undesirable tree, they can't just do it without coming through a process, similar to a lot of other cities. We have the list, and it's not going to cost anything, but you still have to go through that process with basically over the counter with staff.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilmember Rogers, Councilmember Turner? Yes, Councilmember Wilson.
I have a follow-up question. The list of undesirable trees, will that be tied into the permit process for new developments or remodels also? Sometimes people come up with a plan for development. Will they be told that these are trees that we find undesirable?
Well, most people are not planting tulip trees anymore because, again, they're just susceptible to pests and they, get messy and whatnot. You tend not to see a lot of people planting the eucalyptus or the acacia or the tulip or tree of heaven. You're going to still get people planting palms probably. So it's not that they can't plant these necessarily, especially like palms, but if people want to remove them, we're not going to keep them from it. I haven't seen anybody, including, the blue or red gum eucalyptus or the acacias. There are different varieties of acacias and different varieties of pine trees that some will plant. You're not really seeing those as much. And fruit trees, again, they tend to be, more minor in nature, and there's not any more left really in an orchard form.
And
So
I would
I'm
also-
not seeing a lot of them included in landscape plans, but it's not necessarily specific to say you can't do it, but I'm also not seeing people choosing those trees.
And
to
and the
include in
the
that.
one thing that I would add is, we do have full discretion, staff, sometimes through the Site and Architectural Commission, over the planting palette for a project, and I'm sure Jeannie would agree, we would not, be moving forward with approvals for trees that we are considered a hazard, especially when it comes to like eucalyptus. Some of the others, not necessarily, but particularly for ones that are a hazard.
Thank you.
Okay. I had just a couple of questions, and then we'll move on to public comment if there's no more questions from council. You were talking about the appeal process with Councilmember Anstanding, and I just wanted to make sure I understood that. You said that if staff denies a tree removal of one of these conditions, that their recourse is to file a site and architecture permit then.
Yeah.
So they would have to pull that, but would they then have to pay the full site and architecture fee?
The $100.
Okay,
That's all it is,
okay,
which is pretty minor as far as the
Right.
work that, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, so the over-the-counter ones is still no fee, but going in front of site and architecture is $100.
okay. And then in regards to the trees, we had talked about not requiring a replacement tree. Was that something that I missed, or was that discussed at all?
For the dead or the undesirables?
Correct. If you're removing an undesirable tree, that you would not be required to actually replace it.
Okay. Now, I will bring up, in the case of some of the eucalyptus, some can be some larger stands. So it's, again, I think a lot of people just generally want to replant.
Right.
But I think maybe someone brought up that one hillside where there were a lot of eucalyptus removed, but nothing's been put in their place. And, not only could it add to the aesthetics of that hillside, but, provide some stability of the hillside too. So it's,
With everything, I think there should be a balancing act. I just wanted people to feel comfortable that they wouldn't have this large expenditure that they're facing if they were to remove the only large eucalyptus tree on their property and go, wow, I'd sure do that, but I've got to spend $6,000-$7,000 on a compatible replacement tree.
yeah. I mean,
But if somebody's clear cutting their entire piece of property, I think that there definitely should be some discretion there of saying we do need some replanting.
I mean,
there.
right now, we don't have a codified replacement. It is at staff discretion.
Okay.
So, and whenever I've kind of looked at the removal, the over-the-counter ones, when it's either a dead tree, which we've considered a hazard, or under utility lines, quite honestly, it really is a case by case that I look at the site, I look at how forested the site is, I look whether it's a more manicured landscape versus the hillside landscapes and stuff like that. So I try to reach that balance where it may be appropriate to put a replacement tree. If it's dead or undesirable, typically a lot of these are going to be, 1 to 3 trees at the most. Some of the eucalyptus, like we saw with that one site at the end of Bachman, there were a number of eucalyptus. And then at the back of here on Saratoga-Sunnyvale Road. And I don't think you guys required a 1-to-1, but there was some, reasonable replacement because one of the settings was along a creek. So I think if we could, just continue to use our discretion with reason, because just an automatic 1-to-1 or you never have to do it. Sometimes we're going to find ourselves in a situation where, we wish we could have been a little more reasonable and said, no, you don't have to, or we'd like to see 1 or 2 trees.
Okay, very good. At this point, I'd like to open it up for public comment. I don't have any blue cards on this matter, but would anybody from the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to staff for either other questions, discussions. Where do we go from here? I think it's just kind of giving direction.
Yes, I would just ask Jeannie, do you think I think we got enough direction to turn this into
Yeah, I mean,
an
I think,
ordinance?
it just to, make sure that as you've gone through what we've recommended, do you see anything that you don't agree with or you'd like anything different? I haven't heard that there's anything different.
Yes, Councilmember Anstany.
I would suggest the $1,000 fine. I think that unfortunately in our community, paying $200 is a lot easier than coming down and getting permission from a lot of people. And I think using your discretion, you'll be able to tell the distinction between somebody who's being derelict and not following the rules.
Well, and just to clarify, even if they're fined, they still have to come in to get a tree removal permit.
Okay.
And I think moving forward with the clarifications in the code, it's going to be required that regardless of whether it was removed without benefit of a permit, they have to come in after the fact and go in front of Site and Architecture. Some people feel it's a little odd, but that's where the decision-making body can also say, well, given the tree that was removed and given the prominence that it had, maybe we want to see 2-to-1 replacement. So the fine can be what it is, but it doesn't relieve them of having to come through and get a tree removal permit approved by Site and Architecture.
So I would ask, is there a consensus of the council to raise it to 1,000 so we'll know how to draft the ordinance?
I agree.
I was in favor of that. That's
Okay,
what I was
so
raising my
we
hand.
have a majority.
Yeah.
So we'll draft it at that. Whether any of the other recommendations, were there any changes you'd like to see?
I'm not an arborist. I don't know. Looks good.
Okay,
I like it.
all right,
Thank you
so,
very much for this.
absolutely. So we'll draft up an ordinance with the changes, and we'll bring that back to you for your review and adoption.
Yeah, good
Okay.
job, guys.
Thank you.
Very good. And we have just finished with an item, so I see our former Honorable Jack Lucas showing up. Jack, good timing. And we actually just finished an agenda item, and I said I'd try to fit you in as soon as we could. So would you like to just go right to the podium and introduce your item?
Okay, catch my breath here.
Catch your breath.
Well, I'm going to introduce the president of West Valley College and let him lead off. We're well aware of the 3-minute time span that we have. And then I will follow Brad. He's a tough act to follow, but I think I can pull it off. I should get you out of here by 9:15.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Just get us out before the restaurants close. Hello.
Mayor, members of City Council, thank you very much for having me. For those of I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name's Brad Davis. I'm the president of West Valley College. And I come to you tonight with an information item. It's regarding our Yes on Measure W campaign. West Valley College will be seeking Phase 3 of its 3-part educational and facilities master plan. So this is a facilities bond. It is going to be split evenly between West Valley College and Mission College in Santa Clara. It is for $698 million, which equates to $17 per 100,000 of assessed value. The main thrust is to finish our library, which is over 50 years old, the creation of a wellness complex that will be open to members of the community, as well as the final phases of our STEM and our fine arts facilities, in addition to more infrastructure than I could ever bore you with in one program. But our water mains, our sewer mains, everything underneath the ground of the campus needs to be taken care of as well. So I know that you can't take any action on this. I really just wanted to apprise you of the program, seek your partnership in any way moving forward, and of course to answer any questions that any of you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Okay, so seeing none, thank you very much for coming in tonight.
It's my
Sure
pleasure.
appreciate it. I visited the college when they just opened up their new, and I'm sorry, I can never get the name of the building right. The
Shea School of Professional Studies.
School of Professional Studies. It's a great school, and met with a number of their professors there, one of them happening to be 2 council members from Saratoga, and they're very excited about the programs that are going on over there, and I really think you guys are doing a great job there.
With the impaction of the UCs and the CSU, we are seeing more students than ever from Saratoga, Los Gatos, and Monte Sereno. Los Gatos is our #1 feeder school right now, so we are indeed serving the communities nearest to the college.
And just for full disclosure, my daughter signed up there this year, so she's taking computer science studies there. So, and I think she'll end up with Howard as a professor pretty soon.
Howard.
Yes.
Howard.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
very much
much.
for your time.
Yes, he teaches there. So does Manny. Manny teaches business.
Like Manny to be my teacher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Jack Lucas. I'm a former mayor and council member for the city of Monte Sereno. I see you've still got my bird up. When I bought that, I didn't buy it. The people did. We had a bet how long that would stay there before it came down, and I'm so pleased that the quail is still there. And I am currently a trustee for the West Valley Mission Community College District. I just want to say hello. I just want to thank you for being our partners. There are 7 cities within the West Valley Mission Community College District. Some of them we have all of the cities. I used to think we had all of Monte Sereno, but when we went to districting, what we have now is we split right down Winchester. I lost half of Los Gatos, and there's that flag lot of Monte Sereno that crosses Winchester. That might not be in my district, District 6, but we are governed by district now. We used to be at large. And I've been proud, our our board of trustees and past board of trustees have been very proud of the relationship we've worked hard that we have with the 7 cities that comprise West Valley Mission. And just want to let you know that we're going to stay with that as much as we can. I hope that you will feel free to contact me. I can answer questions. I cannot speak for as you know, I can't speak for the Board of Trustees, but I'll give you my personal opinion for what it's worth. And anyway, I miss Monte Sereno. 20 years here, it was a great run, and I won't be back, I don't think. But anyway, thanks again thank you for showing up at the Shea dedication, and that's it. Looking forward to continued relations with the city of Monte Sereno.
Thank you very much. And I just have to say that a few years ago, we actually had an agenda item to talk about modernizing the sign, and the residents came to the defense of the bird.
I got
Leave
booed
it.
Whoa, why did you get booed?
because I was the one that wanted to change the thing. Sorry, Jack.
Curtis, we paid a lot of money for that. I'm going to leave you one more claim to fame. I designed the desk that you're sitting here. Andrea, somewhere between Andrea and Sue, they have the plans. I was at a very boring graduation, middle college, and so on the program, I designed this very crudely, gave it to Sue. Sue gave it to her husband. He came in and he built the dais, and I see it's still standing.
Still standing.
A little bit of history. I'm a walking history book. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm looking for the red light here, but
No, it's all electronic now.
wow.
Still have 58 seconds.
Anyway, best of luck to all of you, and thank you for what you do for my city, what you do for West Valley Mission Community College District.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I ran into Don Wimberly we just came from Los Gatos. You remember Don? Anyone know Don Wimberly? That's going back a few years. Yeah, I ran into him at, I don't know what he was doing at Los Gatos, but he had a gripe of somewhat. And so he's there still speaking probably right now. Nice guy, first manager that I knew. Thanks again, folks.
All
Goodbye.
right. Yes, Javed.
I just wanted to share with Honorable Jack Lucas that I was on the Board of Trustees of West Valley Mission Community College back in 1992. And it's a tremendous college. I came to America, I attended a community college, which was my first college to attend, and they serve a great purpose. So I wish you good luck on your W-2.
Well, thank you. You weren't on the board when I was there.
1992 now. You probably came right after that.
Yeah, I think, anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, good luck in your campaign.
Thank you, guys. All right, so this officially closes our open mic night. And we're going to move on to item number 7, which is a request to join the U.S. versus California amicus brief regarding pro-immigrant California laws challenged by the federal administration. And did you want me to just move right into this, Terry? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we received an email, and the email was included in our packet, and I think we all received a copy of it, from a group called Siren. And what they're trying to do is recruit cities to sign on to an amicus brief that was prepared by a number of cities. Some of the Bay Area cities were Santa Clara and Mountain View and San Jose and East Palo Alto. And what they're looking for is just support for this amicus brief. And I did not feel comfortable just signing it myself. I thought that the council should have a chance to weigh in on it. I know this is a very contentious subject, and I just wanted everyone to have a chance to weigh in on it. So I would like to answer any questions you may have of it, first of all. And if not, I would like to open it up for questions or discussion. Councilmember Turner.
Yes, is there a cost to this?
There is no cost to this. We just send a letter, and our name gets added to it.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Councilmember Rogers, you look like you want to say
There's
something.
so much I want to say about this, but I'll pass.
You're going to pass?
Yeah.
Okay. So, at this time, yes, no?
Yeah, no, I have a
Go ahead.
comments.
I'm sorry.
So, this is pretty unique because I think this is the first time that since I've been on council where we've been asked to weigh in on an issue that is of a clearly national nature that is pretty far and outside the scope of our typically I wouldn't say the jurisdiction, but it's outside the scope typically of what we deal with here in the city. And and I've read the 3 comments, or the 3 letters, emails that we received, and then there was another email that we received from, I think, Kathy Smith, that was, and all 4 of them are opposed. That they don't want us to weigh in on this and be speaking on behalf of all the city. And I don't know that when we make decisions that we're necessarily always speaking on behalf of all the city, because we're making decisions in our representative capacities based on what we think, and that's kind of how we were all elected. And I looked at the City Council role, vision, and values document that we prepared back last year, actually, to see if there was anything in there that might say that this is something we should or shouldn't weigh in on. And there's nothing particularly on point that tells us that this is something that we need to do or should do. But personally, I totally support the effort that's behind the amicus brief, and I think that it's I think personally it's the right thing to do, and I know that we don't have our own police department, so to speak. I mean, the town of Los Gatos has its police department that would be really dealing with this issue about undocumented folks who are in the United States. And I just think that the position that the current administration's taken is just abhorrent when it comes to looking at civil rights issues, and especially of this nature with respect to immigration. So I, for one, think that this is the right thing to do, and I'm termed out, so I can't be. It's even too late to try to recall me. So I don't mind. I don't mind taking the lead and saying that I think that this is something that we should do, and I think that we speak as our individual selves as representatives of the city, and like every other issue that we deal with, people don't always agree with us. So I don't know that we're going to ever seek a unanimous position on an issue like this, and probably tonight among the council members we may differ as well. So in any event, those are my thoughts and comments.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm going to say a couple of things. I read this. I've been thinking about this. I'm 100% in agreement with you, as you probably could guess, just by the nature of who I am. But one of the things that bothers me is I just don't like the federal government dictating to us as a state what we should be doing. We're California. The whole way that the union was set up was that states had individual rights to make these decisions on their own. And they're trying to tell us, they're trying to shove it down our throats that this is how we should act. And I just am not in favor of that. And besides everything else that you said, this is just people trying to be good humans, So I'm 100% in favor of this thing.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Wilsheimer?
Yeah, I agree with the previous two speakers. I'm an immigrant myself. I moved to the U.S. in 1982 and became a citizen in the year 1999. I am a legal immigrant, but I'm appalled by what the current administration is currently doing. Their way of enforcing the law is to me completely inappropriate, and there are other ways to do it. I think the U.S. needs a major reform of the immigration law, and unfortunately, with the current situation in Washington, that's not going to happen for the next couple of decades, I think. So it's very unfortunate, and but I agree this is a California decision, and the current administration is always claiming that they are in favor of the state's rights, except when it doesn't fit into their program. So I completely agree this is a California decision, a California issue. It's our decision, so I'll support this.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes, I believe that as a council member, I must consider the citizens of Monte Sereno above all else. And we have received, a number of letters against the brief. I know that some of the views I know that the council members, 4 of you, have said, yes, you want to support this brief. However, when I look at it, it doesn't seem to me that we have taken the input from the citizens. So I think Monte Sereno is better served by staying out of situations like this.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to weigh in, and I'll try not to go very long, but again, when I first saw this, I thought it was important enough for the council to see this letter and to make sure that everybody understood what it was talking about and that everybody had a chance to express their opinion and to give the community a chance to speak on it. When I first saw this letter, I immediately said that, yes, we have to jump in and support this, but I wanted to jump in and support it with the reasoning that this is the best thing for the city. This is not my own personal political beliefs, even though they happen to coincide with this particular issue. Attending a number of different government meetings that we participate in through our boards and committees, I have talked to a lot of people, or I've heard a lot of talk about this issue, and the one thing that they talk about in the brief that I find very compelling is that this is the best for our communities, that we are sending firemen, EMTs, police into areas that are sometimes populated by large numbers of undocumented immigrants. We need their help, we need their support, And if we're going to create this atmosphere where every time they stick their head out the door, they're going to have to fear being black bagged and hauled off to some black site, which is essentially what's happened to a lot of them, and that's some of the things that these laws are meant to address. I feel that this is something that we need to step in and make a stand on. Talking to people in the county, for example, that are being asked to go on enforcement raids, but they turn out to be roundup raids. They're asking us to do their job. They're asking us to spend our money. They're asking the county to give up its money that they would put towards public services and do the work of the federal government. The federal government has had many, many years to try to fix this problem. They have failed to do so, and they continue to not do anything, as we've seen over the past number of administrations. And it's not just one side versus the other side. Both sides have failed on the immigration issue. The other thing that I need to say, because I hear this time and time again, is that none of this means that we are not protecting our borders. We do not have an open door policy. You can't go to Sacramento and ask anybody in Sacramento, why aren't we doing anything to stop the undocumented immigrants from coming into our country? Why do we just let them all in here and we give them services and we give them funds to take care of themselves? That's not the case. But they do come here. They come through a lot of hardship to get here. And at this point, they are supposed to go through a process with the federal government to be able to stay here. And we're not even giving them that opportunity anymore. So for those reasons, I feel that we should support this, because this is an issue that does affect the city. It affects us because money that the county would normally give to us in fire services and sheriff services and EMT services and health services for the county hospital services are not being put to that use because we're being required to do the work of the federal government. And so I'm going to support this issue. And are there any other questions or comments? At this time, I'd like to see if there's any members of the public who would like to weigh in on this. Okay, seeing no other comments, I want to bring it back. And I want to say one other thing. Yes, we did get 3 letters, but I have talked to over a dozen people, and I have been approached by my neighbors, not only on this subject, but other subjects regarding the different, I want to say, issues that are occurring with the immigration policies that are going on right now. And we do have a lot of support out there in the city. You know, yes, we did get 3 letters, but I can guarantee you that there are dozens of people out there that do support us, and I have personally talked to them. So do not feel like we're going against the will of the city. Okay? So at this time, I would like to see if there's a motion to move forward with this letter. We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second.
Proud to make that motion.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Have buttons.
Okay, I have all votes are in.
Please record the vote. Okay, so the motion passes. So at this point, I think our city clerk will figure out how we get our name on that letter, correct? All right, thank you. And that takes us to item number 8, which is the Santa Clara Library Outpost Project Update. And
Good
Jerry,
evening,
will
Mayor
you
and council
that one?
members. Yes, I'll give you a quick, brief presentation based on the staff report. So staff is bringing forward this item. We have apprised you of, the situation regarding the potential for using the building next door as a library outpost. But we, as I indicated in a memo that I sent to you previously, we wanted to bring this to you formally so we could present this to the public as well as to get your feedback on any options, if any, you'd like for us to consider moving forward. So it's just briefly, during the budget process for this fiscal year's budget, staff had recommended that a placeholder be put into the budget for some upgrades, ADA, as well as restroom facilities and some other repairs to the building next door that would need to be incurred in order to make it usable, really for any use, but in this case it was potentially as a library outpost where the library would have limited amount of services. And so with that direction in the budget, staff proceeded to work with the library on what that possibly what form that would take. And at the end of the day, the form was basically to offer some services to the community where books and materials could be reserved. They could be delivered to a red box-like device where they would be dropped off next door. Patrons would have access to the space, could go in, gather their materials. There was also the possibility of adding additional equipment, which would allow people to browse other items that they might also check out. So that was kind of the gist of what the services what might be. The county library staff put together a survey, which they sent out and posted on Nextdoor. We posted it on Nextdoor, and they used their channels of communication to the public electronically. And the survey was left out long enough to gather enough respondents to consider it to be a valid number of responses, which we did receive just exactly about the right amount. And based on that, as you can see, we've attached the survey results to the staff report. Let me get the numbers exactly. So the majority of respondents, almost 64%, stated that they were either neutral, somewhat unlikely, or very unlikely to use the facilities as I described. So based on that, it just didn't make any sense for us to pursue that option any further. So tonight we're presenting you with the actual results of the survey and letting you know that we as staff, believe that based on responses from the community, that there's not enough need for this type of service. But we would like to see if you had any other thoughts or ideas. And we certainly could pursue those as well. I did outline some of the restrictions that are imposed on because of the zoning for the site. As you well know, we are a city of residential uses with very limited non-residential uses. And in this case, this site is really zoned for public facilities, emergency shelters, which is a state law requirement, churches, community centers, which really means facilities like a senior center or teen center or those kinds of facilities you see in many communities, public recreation facilities, and then, of course, an accessory building exceeding one per lot, and that's just a quirk of the zoning ordinance, in my opinion. But the bottom line is we're just seeking your input. If you have any other ideas you would like us to proceed with, we certainly can do some investigating into those. And with that, if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay, thank you very much. Are there any comments? Okay. Seeing no comments, I'd like to open this up to the public to see if they have any comments. And seeing no comments from the audience, I will bring it back. And Terry, was this just an informational update? There's no action required? There's no action required, but as I said, I would say I would like to hear, if I could, from the council, a majority. We do have a line item budgeted to do some improvements, as I mentioned. It would be good to hear, do you wish us to pursue other options? And if not, say so. That's, of course, perfectly fine. But if you would like us to pursue other options, given the parameters of what's permitted, what are your thoughts? And if there's a consensus on some other possibility, we certainly can work on that. Okay. So, yes.
Do we have to have a response for you tonight, or can we hold off on this and think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. If we can certainly re-agendize this at a later date. But the bill, as I may have mentioned to you before, the building we had an inspection some time ago. The roof's good. We painted it outside. I mean, we run the HVAC on a very low level, but so we're maintaining the conditioned air inside and taking good care of the building. So it's not going anywhere and it's not deteriorating. So we certainly can, come back to you at a later time and get your ideas. So I would say if that was necessarily the consensus of the council, just let us know this is on hold and we'll get back and we'll come back at a later date.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Wilsheimer.
This may be a perfect opportunity to ask for the residents' input. They were very clear. They do not want a library, the majority of the people who responded, but maybe we should ask them, what do you want, if not a library?
Well, and I think we did get a number of those responses.
Actually, there were several that wanted the post office back.
Yeah. I saw that. Okay. Well, I would just like to say something very quickly, and the first one is my personal apologies because I don't think I did a great service to the city in not kind of stopping the train wreck that this whole issue became, because this started off as the city getting some money in their budget and wanting to take a building that we're not utilizing properly and turn it into a public resource. And at the same time, the Santa Clara County Library, we had $35,000 set aside. For that, we could do some very, very minimal updates. We do need to update the restroom facilities. The carpet is pretty gross in there. An inside paint job would definitely be well deserved, and we could have just stuck some chairs in there and probably had some public meetings in there, or set up some kind of a book reading club or something along that line. And the opportunity came along when the Santa Clara County Library, which I do sit on the board for the city, had a plan to expand service throughout the county. They've been testing a number of different tools, one of them being bookmobiles. We have 2 bookmobiles now. We recently just got an electronic bookmobile where we're sending out to some of the more remote locations. One of the things that we consistently hear is that our residents in the county need more access to the library. And one of the things that they wanted to test was a kiosk. And I never was able to communicate properly. I tried a couple times on Nextdoor, but a lot of people kept thinking that this was going to be a cost incurred by the city with ongoing costs incurred by the city, and that they did not want the city to incur any costs. We have a lot of residents who still believe that this city was formed and it was not supposed to offer a whole lot of government services. Minimal government service is really what I heard a lot when the city was being formed. So this whole, let's have a community center where we're going to get some money from the library, and we were going to get $100,000. So we're going to take like a very small amount of money, and we were going to leverage that by almost 3 times. And we were going to be able to build a really nice facility. I was looking forward to putting some electronic monitors in there. We could probably put some nice tables, some cushier chairs, maybe a couch, and we would get most of our funding from the library. They set aside $100,000 in their budget. And this whole topic got hijacked from, let's make this a community center, but let's let the library try something out for a year to see if this might be something useful. I personally would have used it because I check out items from the library all the time, and I find myself, here it is, 9 o'clock, and I got to return my item. I got to drive all the way to Saratoga and return it when I could drive 6 minutes from my house to the city and drop it into a kiosk. I thought that would have been a pretty good idea, but it never turned out that way. That offer is now removed and it's off the table. They're going to be looking at another location to put this kiosk. The kiosk is going in no matter what, because the county already has the money to fund it. In fact, they have it at their office right now. They gave us a tour of it during one of their last public demonstrations. I do hope that we do continue to look for a use of the building so that it can be used for the community. I hope we're able to fix it up. Again, change, make the carpet, and we might have to put in a little bit more than $35,000. My guess is we'll probably need $50,000 or $60,000 now. But I think it can be a great community benefit. When I got people one-on-one and actually took them to the building, and we talked about it, and I explained that we were going to make this building an ADA compatible build or ADA compliant building, and that we were going to have a kiosk and what the kiosk would do. And the library didn't want it to be a library annex. They just wanted to come in maybe once or twice a week and run some type of a program, a children's program, an adult reading program, a book club meeting. It wasn't going to be used as a regular library. But all those opportunities are now gone. We probably won't ever get a shot at it again. So now it's really up to the city to do whatever we would like to do with the building. So as Councilmember Anstany said, our time here is short, but I do want to leave the future council members with a charge to do something really cool with that building. I think our city deserves it. I think our city will make use of it. And always never be afraid to try something, because again, we weren't married to this. It was going to be a year-long project. We were going to get $100,000. You don't get people just handing out money like that these days. And I feel really bad that we let this opportunity slip. So I guess with that, we're going to just close this item. And we'll come back later on after we've kind of polled the public and let the council members think about it. And
I think what I would suggest we do is, and I think the idea of surveying residents in some fashion is a great one, is that maybe what a staff can do is come up with what that might look like. What are the possibilities, and then that way we can bring that to the city council and say, here are our thoughts on what the possibilities are, and this is what we might poll the community on. And I think that if that would work for everyone, that's what we will do. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes.
Yes.
It does.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, our last item of the night is our participation in the annual Los Gatos Holiday Parade. So, Andrea, you're usually our parade coordinator.
Well, thank you. This will be your fastest staff report. The parade is December 1st, Saturday, December 1st. It usually lasts all morning from about, 7:30 to about 1 o'clock. If the council chooses to be in it this year, that's what I'm here to find out, if you can participate. If you want the same entry, in previous years, we've talked to Mr. Varney. He's been gracious enough to not only let us borrow, but I believe he's your driver, too.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. If you still want to do that, I need to register the entry by October 26th, if you are so interested. And I think it holds up to about 15 people, so guests are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much.
And he gave me a tour of his garage.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes,
I've
it
always
was
wanted
pretty
to see
cool.
that garage.
He had
I hear it's
60
got a
cars
lot of
in
neat
there.
cars in there.
How many does he have?
60.
Yeah,
60?
60?
Wow.
A big garage.
And then also just to let some of our candidates out there know that elected, or what's the term? Duly, no? Just anybody who's actually been elected but hasn't actually been seated is invited to ride on the bus with us also.
I add something. It's really fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're usually very early. We're usually in the first 50 floats that go off, and so we leave it starts at 11. We're usually on our way by 11:15 and done by 11:30.
And he brings the drinks.
And Curtis brings an outstanding Bloody
But that's
Mary.
not legal, so we won't talk
okay.
about that.
Violates the rules.
No alcohol, just drinks.
But it's red, so.
It's red.
One thing, so it sounds like we have consensus that we want to do it.
Yep.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to add is maybe some new banners for the year. Would you guys like to see new banners this year? We've had those last banners for like 20 years.
Who's going to design them?
I don't know. You are.
That's what scares me. I know you guys look at me to do this, huh?
I established a committee of you and I,
Okay, we'll figure it out.
and we'll figure it out. Unless anybody else would like to be on the committee.
The banner committee.
The banner, you and I can do the banner committee.
Banner committee. All right. Well, with that, I think we move into committee and commission reports.
Is there anyone from the public who wants to speak on this?
Oh, okay. Would anybody on the public like to speak about this item? Yes. You bring the quail in, okay. Well, one of the banners does have our city logo on it on one side. So there's actually, we have two separate banners. One says Monte Sereno City Council, and the other one says Monte Sereno. And I'm tired of that banner.
Was it really?
Yes,
What does it say?
Monte Sereno.
Spelled wrong.
I was going to say, are you kidding me?
Snoreno.
It's a joke.
No, it's the real banner.
I didn't notice it. And I've done the parade like 6 times.
Am I wrong on that?
I don't
Never
think
noticed
so.
I would encourage the city council to not use that one.
Does it say that, Marshall?
I never saw that.
I never saw that either.
Well, but you don't see it if you're in the bus.
Yeah,
We've had to help put that thing up every
that's
year.
right,
I
yeah.
just don't remember.
I'd be surprised. But
Well, we certainly have budget to create some new ones, so we'll work with this subcommittee. or the
spell
committee-
check the
subcommittee.
banner, that would
Yes,
be a good
we'll
thing.
spell check the banner.
Maybe you should call the meeting to order.
No, we're on committee and commission reports. All right. So we'll start with Councilmember Turner.
No.
No reports. No reports.
No
Councilmember
reports.
Anstanding.
Just, I've got one real
Rogers.
quick. The West Valley Clean Water Administration is hiring a new director, and so we interviewed some people, and we made a decision, but I can't really say who it is because I don't know that they've accepted the job yet, but I think we have a new director. That's it.
Okay. And I don't have anything. Let's get this thing moving here. Go to council member comments. Any comments? I see all the heads shaking. I'm not going to make any more comments tonight. And city manager report.
Just 2 things. The Great Shakeout, Thursday,
Yes.
this week, 10:18 a.m. It is a reminder to everyone in California that we live in a state with seismic activity, and it can be intense. I encourage you to check the city's website. We have loaded onto there a link to all the things that you need to do to prepare yourself and to practice at 10:18 a.m. what you are going to do in the event of an earthquake. Duck under your desk. Make sure you've cleared out plenty of space. I walk around City Hall and make sure everyone can fit under their desk at 10:18 on Thursday. So I encourage you to do the same.
Thank you very much.
The only other thing is the Better Streets Commission met last week, and we had mostly updates on all the great things that we've been working on in terms of improving our streets. But we did have one item in particular which was related to Andrews Street, and I thought I'd give you a quick verbal update. There was a group, I apologize, have I talked about this publicly to you? No, I have not. So, and I will send you more detail in an email, but I just want to give you a quick lowdown. Some residents in the city were interested in increasing pedestrian and bicycle safety on Andrews, particularly from San Benito in Los Gatos, where it goes to the top of the hill, which technically is all in the city of Los Gatos. So our residents petitioned the town, and through that process, the town, through the Parks and Public Works Department, responded that they would be willing, of course, to assist in some way to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety. The initial proposal that they came up with was to add a sidewalk all the way from San Benito basically to Rose. That project came in at almost $1 million. Based on that, what I did was I requested the Parks and Public Works Director, our city engineer, and the residents meet with myself as a group to come up, brainstorm some ideas on what else we might do. And we came up with a great option, which is considerably less. Basically, it would to increase the paved area on the north side of the street to have an area somewhat similar to what we have along Highway 9. It wouldn't be raised, but it leaves plenty of space for pedestrian. So long story short, the price for that improvement to the town actually fell within an existing contract that they already have set up. So instead of having to wait until potentially February to make a mid-year budget adjustment with the town council, it looks like we're going to be able to wrap that into a current contract, and they will actually be able to do the work next month. So the Better Streets Commission came up with some additional ideas for markings on the street, signs, and a number of other minor things that we can add in to overall create a really, safe space for folks to walk back and forth. And I must publicly commend the town and the director of the Parks and Public Works, Matt Morley. I think they've just been amazing to work with, and in this case, it really benefits almost exclusively our residents, and the town is willing to pay for all of this. So I think it was, as they say, a real win-win for everyone. So I just want to give you an update, and I'll put more of this in writing and send it to the council as a whole.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Anstanding.
Yeah, I just want to compliment our city manager on this as well. I was approached by two of our residents, one that lives on Rose and another that lives just around the corner from here in one of the courts, and their kids go down Andrews on their way to school. And I brought the issue to Terry, and Terry then worked with Matt from the town and really worked hard at getting something accomplished. And I was really thrilled to get it finished, get it to the finish line, but especially even having the town pay for it. And I think we should think about that in the future, because periodically when we're supporting some parks issues and supporting some of the events that go on in the town, there are a lot of good reasons why it's a good expenditure of our money to support them, because they in this case have clearly supported us, because it was totally everything was in their jurisdiction. So I just think it's overall a really great effort, and I just want to thank you for your hard work on it.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, very good. So on November the 6th, we will not be holding a meeting, as this facility will be used as a polling place. So I will adjourn this meeting until November the 20th. And thank you all very much for coming tonight.
Kara, did you ever hear anything from Julie about the Ridgecrest?
She will be in tomorrow.
Okay.
She's out on Tuesday, so
Yeah.
I sent an email.
If you could let me know, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Score in Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'll be sending
So
you
Andrea just needs
another,
to ask me
email
a
soon.
couple things
There's
about
another-
that.
That's fine.
Yeah, there's one more.
I guess I got 1 minute. 5 o'clock. You guys mind if I start the meeting?
You want to start the meeting?
Oh, I'm not, that's right, I'm not this one.
Are you not?
I'm sorry, I forgot. There you go.
The power.
Glad that I don't have to do it.
Pure power.
He's drunk with power.
No, I'm not.
Right.
It's my gavel.
Okay, you guys, I got back from France last night. I'm still totally jet lagged. 2 in the morning, I was like
How
wide
do you
awake.
do that, man, is what I want to know. That's like far. Can't believe I missed
over
the
now
clean
here.
water meeting.
When we start the meeting.
It just
Yes.
makes me mad they didn't put that on my calendar.
I got it from you. I wouldn't have even
Calling this regular meeting today of November 1st of the West Valley Solid Waste Management Authority to order. Will you all join me to the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call, please?
Chair Bernard,
Here.
Vice Chair Rogers,
Here.
Member Leonardis,
Here.
Member Resnicoff.
Here.
Are there any oral communications from the public? Seeing none, move forward. Old business, none. New business. Consider a report on WVCNR's prior fiscal year complaints and liquidated damages.
For just a second.
Yes.
We have. Oh, you are going to, okay,
Oh, okay.
okay.
No speaker slips then. Okay.
Thank you.
So we are getting a presentation, or are we just accepting what we have here?
We do not have a presentation.
Okay.
I'm guessing they're
We'll have I have a presentation with one of the agenda items.
All right. Yes. Steve?
Well, we have no presentation, so we get into just discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
We discussed before opening public hearing.
Oh, we do need to.
We're on number one.
wanna speak?
And I suspect you had a presentation on that.
Well, I have, okay, I'm sorry, I'm back here on special presentation, which we did not have one. Old business, none. Okay, now we're to new business.
The report on the prior year's complaints and liquidated
Okay,
damages.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry. So as part of our agreement, we have the performance standards and liquidated damages associated with failing to meet those standards. We have the missed pickups, which is defined as a failure of WVCR to collect materials have been properly set out, and that have not, they have 1 business day to return, and then they have 20 days or 20 such failures per quarter. As you know, we've been talking about this for the last several years. This year, when you look at our missed pickups, we have seen a significant decline from where we had been, which is a very good thing. We still, even though they've declined, we still need to continue to monitoring those. But I want to applaud the company for the improvement that was done and looking to get back to our levels in our 11, 12 through 13, 14 years. The double missed pickups are defined as a failure to collect material that was properly set out from the same customer on 2 consecutive scheduled pickups. They incurred 67 instances in 17-18, and in that case, there is not a minimum per quarter, so the liquidated damages for that is $10,975. We also looked at new customer starts that when they must start service within 7 days from the designated service date, and there were 63 times that did not happen, of which there's an allowed 24, leaving it with 39. So liquidated damages of $6,300 there. We did not, the property damage was within the threshold, and the other areas, liquidated damages for other service issues, as far as collection outside of authorized hours, et cetera, meets or exceeds the current standards. Last year, as part of our 16-17 liquidated damages, the board chose to, they were assessed $22,000. The board agreed to suspend the payment until November, or till tonight actually, and if the 17-18 assessed liquidated damages were less than half of the 16-17 liquidated damages, the board agreed to waive the 16-17, and we included the motion in there. So if we, in total, the liquidated damages are greater than that half, the $17,000, at this point, it could be the board can consider the $17,000 plus the $22,000 that was deferred from last year. There's alternatives, and as we did last year, there was different ways that we could go about assessing them, and we can discuss that tonight. So in total, we're looking at the close to $39,000 if you combine the two, 17 from this year and 22 from last year.
Are there any questions of staff? None? All right, I will open the public hearing then.
Hi, Wesley McConkey with West Valley Collection and Recycling. And as Marva was going through the report, at this time last year, we were assessed liquidated damages for 147 double missed pickups, which amounted to a little more than $22,000. And you all put that in abeyance, and we really appreciate that, and thank you very much. So the goal put before us was to decrease that by half. And this year, we had 67 double missed pickups. And as we see in Marva's report, in the first 6 months of this year, we were down to 20 double missed pickups for those 6 months. So we're trending down, consistently trending down. And when issues are brought to our attention, such as this and the double missed pickups and the misses, we put our focus on it, we give it asserted effort, and we accomplished what we set out to, which was decreasing the double missed pickups and the missed pickups. So we're providing better customer service to our customers, your residents, and that's good for all of us. So when the issues are brought to our attention, we do everything that we can to fix them. Now, there's a new category that was brought up, and that's the new starts. And that's a metric that we have not been tracking until now. You can bet we're tracking it effective the moment we found out that it was being tracked here. So because we weren't tracking it, we have kind of an imperfect system where if the driver doesn't turn in the tag the day that he services it 6 days after the request, and he may not turn it in for 3 more days. And the day he turns it in and dispatch marks it complete, that's the day it gets posted as completed, not the day that the service actually happened. So we have a new system in place to track those actual service days. And we're going to put the same effort that we put into reducing the misses into these new starts, and we expect the numbers to go down just the same as they did with the misses. So we want to be and believe that we are a great service provider in our communities here, and we respectfully ask that you forgive these liquidated damages. We had 5 million total service opportunities this year, and the 67 double missed pickups amount to 0.001% of those service opportunities. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have a question. So you said the double missed are down to 20 in 6 months?
Yep. So
does that relate? Because one of the things we did when we waived the fee or pushed the fee back to measure it was asking you to accelerate the tablets in the trucks.
Which we did.
Does that relate to that? I mean, are we finding out that some things that were reported as double missed, now you have proof that it wasn't missed or so? Or?
Yeah, well, what has happened a lot with the tablets is that folks call in a miss, but really we find out that they didn't put their card out, right? And we've kind of talked about that before. So that has drastically reduced. Once the customer finds out, they call in, oh, we were missed. Oh, no, we have a new laptop on the truck, and the driver noted that your cart wasn't out at 7:20. We haven't even had to do any enforcement. Folks are just putting their carts out on time now that they know we can take a picture and have proof of it. So it definitely has. The tablets have definitely made an improvement.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? I have a question while the public hearing is open. One of the things that we've talked about, and it came up because of the previous report that we got from the stormwater, that we are going to have to look into a trash load reduction coming up with all the laws that we've got on the books. And I've been thinking that this could be a win-win, that if we took some of the fines that we have here, and that'll be up to all of us to determine whether it's the 10,000 or the 6,000 or however, and began to work on a program where we start educating the community, because we're going to have to bring them along for your sake, for the community's sake, for the landfill's sake, that this might be a really good opportunity to do some community outreach, whether it's in community events or whether it's through schools with having contests, because school kids are really good about motivating their parents, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And so I'd like to have your opinion on that.
We work with the Clean Water Program, which is, I think that's who you're talking about.
Well, we have a new clean water program, and that's, yes. That's
Okay.
what- yes.
Okay, so we work with the old Clean Water Program. I don't know if they're combining, right, yes, right. But the actual staff, right, they request information from us, and we have promoted their messaging in our presentations and in our tabling at community events. So absolutely, we find them to be great partners. And like you said, it's the same message. A lot of it is the same message: reducing litter, reducing, just garbage in general.
Yeah. The thing is, this is a brand new group, so I think without funding. So this is another one of the reasons that I'm prompting a discussion of this sort of issue, because I think it's a win-win situation for all of us at this point. Good.
Agree.
Good. Is there anything else further? Anyone else would like to speak from the audience? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
The only comment I would like to make is and just to kind of remind WVCR, all of the performance standards that are in the agreement are all ones that should be focusing on. No, we haven't checked every single one of them every year, but they are. It's not a new standard. It's just one that we got your information to try to check on.
So the new customer. I want to respond to her, and so the new customer starts. We're already in the contract.
Right. It is a performance standard in the contract.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes,
I was going to say similar because I don't remember that. Have we ever measured that before?
We had not measured that. We went back through and looked at ones that we need to make sure that we're following up. We have been seeing the decline in misses, and we've been, so now we're just trying to make sure that the rest, anything that we can do to enhance the customer service part, which makes everybody's life better, is a good thing.
Is there
Yeah, please.
Sorry. Is there some further goal that we could want them to achieve at this point? I mean, I have trouble with these things because there's so many options that we have. One is taking some of the money because they didn't meet the standards. One is not taking the money but going further with some other standard that we want them to achieve, or a combination of the two. So these things are hard for me. I'm not quite sure what the answer is, guys.
We saw a lot of, and I don't want to answer for them, we saw a lot of improvement, which is great.
Yeah.
Really, really good, when we started measuring. And so I think the measuring is a good source of information that we need to have to work as a body.
But perhaps putting some money aside so that it continues might not be a bad idea.
I think that was a good incentive too.
Just throwing that out to you guys.
But again, when we're looking at reduction of mandatory trash load, we've got to start addressing that. I'm on the county board
education
too,
thing.
and that's where I'm going. The
That's
education,
not
I
a
think,
bad idea.
is a good thing.
But the thing is, and I'm on board with that, but the idea with that is definitely taking some money from what they would owe us to do this.
Yeah.
So there's so many different options that we have here.
Yes. Which one, did you decide? Okay. I did.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, was I not?
No, you were in order. I had done it. Yeah, we're good.
So my thoughts are this. I think the contract pretty much predates all of our tenure on this board, and probably we should take a look at it to see if these penalty schedules are still relevant. To me, it seems kind of excessive when we have a good relationship with this vendor, and last year we get a $22,000 bill, and it's kind of, I understand there's metrics and things that created that level, and then we said we didn't really want to collect the money because it just goes into a pot, and it sits in that pot, and we have too much money there already, and let's give them a chance to try to rectify, which I think they've moved in the right direction. But then this year, there's a new set of measurements that kind of move them over and above the deal that we made. We were going to say, hey, if you didn't exceed this certain amount, then we were going to let you off the hook or whatever the motion was for the other penalty, but then we found these new metrics that pushed them over the limit on that. And I don't think any of us are familiar with the metrics or whether the metrics are really fair, considering, as Wesley said, that out of 5 million service calls, it's like 0.001%. I don't get complaints from the citizens. Maybe there's one guy, Ron Simner, from Samsung, who hardly ever complains anymore. He's happy. Finally, we used to get one from him every week. And there's been so few complaints with this agency. We have a good relationship with the public and with the agency. And I think it sends a very, I look at this $39,000 and it seems excessive. I don't feel comfortable taking it from them at this point in time. I think last year we tried not to take $22,000. Now we're faced with the decision. Now we got to take $39,000. And I don't feel good about that, considering it's just going to go into a pot of money. I don't know if there's another alternative to what Mary Lynn said about, educating the public, the outreach for the future things that are coming. If there's already provisions in our contract and such for those types of things going forward or not, or what funds will be allocated and from where to start on those new programs. I'm assuming that we have some source of money already in or not, but the question is, do you take a penalty that may or may not be really justified based on some potentially outmoded metrics, which might be excessive or overstated based on the fact that now we have iPads and all these things and we're making all these improvements, and use that to try to do some good with moving forward? Or do you use existing money and such? And I'm just going through a stream of consciousness here for now because I want to hear what everybody else has to say. I thought about what Mary Lynn said about this clean water program, and there's no funding source after 2 years for this program. I'm wondering if somehow that can be incorporated into the Solid Waste Authority, if she could become an employee of their group or something down the road. That might be a solution for that as well, and they can work in conjunction. Just a thought, because right now it's kind of their own entity, so maybe that's a future opportunity. But I guess where I'm getting at is, number one, I've been on this board. Were you here longer than me? But you went out and you came back, right?
Yeah, but I was here I did the contract.
So you were there for the contract. I was there for the end of the contract. It was already kind of in the can. And then you guys are both brand new. But as Paul said, it's like, where are these metrics coming from? Like, why are they, all of a sudden I think we need to familiarize ourselves with the metrics and try to come up with a more fair system of metrics before we start levying these kinds of financial damages, because they are substantial, in my opinion.
They were based on previous
things that might be outmoded, And I wasn't here during the discussion during that point, but I'm not familiar with it, so I don't know.
Barbara, can you answer any of the questions?
I can tell you that they're very standard. Almost every agreement that are being written today have the same performance standards. They're not unusual, and that it's one of those things where I think, yes, you can go down and the haulers always will come back and you do the 3, or in this case 2 trucks times 3 containers, and you do all the math, and yes, it is a lot of opportunities, and so when you look at it that way. However, to that, we were getting a year ago significant number of calls at my level, and so was your staff, of misses. And with this, we saw an improvement. If you look at the years before, when we did not assess any dollar damages, the numbers kept going up. Once we got there, we got dollars attached, and we've seen an improvement. So I agree that it seems excessive because of the dollars, but again, it's not unusual. It's very standard in the industry to have these types of liquidated damages. I think, the key, and yes, we're calling it new on the new customer starts. There's only about 20 performance standards that they have to meet. And those are ones that, when we all went through the agreement, we looked at them. We looked to determine if the occurrences were reasonable or not, and everybody signed off, and yes, they are. Can we look at them again? Absolutely. That is something we could do. It would require amendment to the agreement, to do that, but we can do that. I agree. I think there's, maybe on the new starts, was this enough of something that we need to make sure? Because if I'm a customer, if I call in, I expect my cart to be delivered within a reasonable amount of time. Maybe that's just them becoming aware that it's an issue and putting the focus on it is good. That's something you can consider. I think the missed pickups, there's, yes, we've seen a continuous improvement or seen that improvement this year. We need to see it consistent. We haven't seen it happen over a consistent period of time under this new contract. And if you recall, every year we've been complaining to them about missed pickups. They did a new operational plan, did a lot of different things to try to improve that area. We got it this last year, and that's great. We just want to maintain that level of customer service.
Anything more, Steve?
No, I was just interested in hearing what other people have to say.
Thank you. Yeah, Steve, I don't know if the fees are good now or not. I mean, I wasn't here when it was done either, and I think in the next contract that probably makes sense. These are 10-year contracts, I think?
Yes. 2024.
Maybe to put in at 5-year point that we review because technology changes, and it may be a proactive review.
I agree with you.
I'm a little disturbed. I've been here 4 years. I've never seen this other stat. So let me separate these into two things. We assessed last year, and we told them cut it down by half, and we waived that fee. And it went 147.67 now on the goal of 40, so that's pretty good. I think it's fair to honor that because we didn't cite other measurements to get there. So if the goal was to cut the double missed pickups by half, and they've exceeded that, they met the requirement that we set last year. We didn't, because it sounds like there's 18 other metrics we could throw in here and just always, I'm sure there's a metric they're missing. So there's probably incumbent on us to measure the things that we want to measure, I would think. And maybe all 20 we don't. So I'd like to separate these out and say if they met that goal that we set, then we should waive it. I mean, that seems fair. And now we have the other one. Wesley brings up a point. I don't know if they turned their tickets in on time or not, but they probably weren't incented to. They didn't really care. This is certainly a good metric to start with, right? So we could do one of two things, I think, that would be fair here. This is a baseline, and now we want the same improvement. And maybe even hold over that there's the fine or there's the penalty, but cut this one in half, this metric by itself in half. I'm concerned about combining metrics, right? Because they're different service issues. If you combine them, you could have too many double missed pickups or too many new customer start problems, but so few double missed pickups that it's okay, or vice versa, and that doesn't solve the problem. We could have a problem masked by the other one. So I would say honor what we told them last time. Either use this as a baseline and start this metric next year, or if the board prefers, have that penalty out there like we did with this one, set a goal, and give them a chance to improve. I mean, I know that we had years where they didn't improve. We didn't assess. That was probably a mistake here. But when we did assess and gave incentives, 147, 67, 40, that's pretty good.
But, so there's the point, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There's the point of having the goals so that they do work harder to
Correct.
make this happen.
Right.
And so the possibility, I mean, and there's also, my other question is, besides the education, if we did decide to assess the penalties, what could we assess? We don't need this money. I mean, it's for my sister, the guys in my experience, it's like $1 a house or something ridiculous. I don't know. It doesn't mean much. But what could we ask them to do internally with that money so that they can use it to better what they're doing? I mean, that's another possibility besides the education outreach.
I think that's a good point. I think certainly with the new customer starts and saying that you didn't have a program in place that brought in the paperwork in a way, I think that's a good way of adjusting it and making the improvements. We certainly saw the improvements with the tablets.
Right.
So I think you certainly should be given credit for that, for having improved that. The double missed pickups, if we're separating things out, still is a little bit of a concern for me, and I still want everyone to be motivated to move forward.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that of two things, that giving the money back is a motivating factor, but in this particular one, we're starting something new with a new starts. So let's say, okay, put the money into developing a system like the tablets for that. And then taking the money for the double mist for about $10,000 and putting it into this education program that we know is going to happen down the road, because it's something that we have to get our community on board. We are going to have a lot of issues coming up with how this whole program, what is it, 1383, is going to have to be run. And I think we all, from even what we're saying here today, are proof that we need to be educated too as to what's coming down the road and how it's going to be handled and how the money is can be effectively spent through the outreach programs, through the schools, the efforts that they've used before and today have even said are worthwhile efforts. So again, let's do a round table and go through, go around the table is what I'm saying, and see. Because I think there's money that is not just going to be sitting in a pot. I think we can use it in a manner that will make improvements for all of us, and go from there. But where I am is, okay, if you want to hold over the new starts, like we did with waiting for the tablets, let's do that and see what kind of performance they come with, them being able to put the money into their own program to improve it. Giving them credit for having a decline in missed pickups through 17-18. Give them credit for that. But the double missed pickups still is a substantial amount, and with whatever reason it happened, they have happened. And I'd like to use that money for the community benefit.
The quarter one to quarter fiscal year, we're talking a fiscal year on here, right? So we're talking period of.
Actually, this is for 17-18, so this is ending June of 8.
Ending 6/18.
Correct.
Is that right?
It is a fiscal year.
So 7/17 to 6/18. And when did the tablets go into effect?
The end of Q2, kind of like.
So half the year.
May, yeah.
Half the year?
Not any of this time, barely any of this assessed time. So it's really their effort.
Oh, end of June, end of June
Yeah, they had
18.
one
They had
month.
a month,
So
month and
that
a half
really-
with
okay,
tablets. It's
okay.
really their focus. I mean,
So their focus got it there.
and the tablet should make it easy to move.
And we don't allow any based on here, but our goal, my thought is our goal was to get it down in half. We get it down above half. And maybe we want to do that again. I mean, the goal here is to get the behavior to change, right?
Yeah.
And so here's my thinking. If you did the same thing here and said, now your goal is 33 or whatever it is, if you make that, fine, we got what we want. If we don't make that, there's $10,975 and whatever it is in the next year to combine with no more, you get 50% off, that metric's gone. If you don't meet the metric, then the metric's not working, then why do it? So the incentive would be kind of what we had last year. It's not just 10,975. It's 10,975. You do it again, it's now 22,000. I mean, I'm okay. I want to see the results, and the results were, 147 to 67 without the tablets in place is good. It accomplished what we wanted. So I'm willing to try that again with the qualifier. If it doesn't work, then that's not a good incentive that we're offering them anymore. There may be a point where they can't get below 30.
As long as our
Remember,
metrics.
to Steve's point, it may be that you can't have, out of that many touches, fewer than 30 or 40 double misses for whatever reason. If that's the case, is it fair to penalize what you're saying? It may be that that's just a goal that when you do a few million of these, you're going to have that problem. So that's why I would prefer maybe to offer the same thing again. It either means that we get results a half again, or they pay the whole thing. And I'm not against what Steve's talking about. Are these reasonable? That will tell us, by the way. Mm-hmm. That will also tell us, because they'll have $20-some thousand potentially on the table, and then starting new with the new customers. And I think if we want to measure any other metrics, we should identify them and know in advance what they are. Right? Not unless we're just going to measure them and use it as a baseline or something without a penalty.
And what you're saying is so true, but we just don't know what's the point that
We
they
don't
could
know.
possibly get to. I have
Correct. So I'm
no
saying,
idea.
if we offer that and it gets to 33, we'd be very thrilled with that, right? And we wipe it off. If we get that and it's
Yes.
60 or 50, we say, well, that's approximately $20,000. But you know that going in, and now you're incented by that amount of money to change it. And you might come back and say, no matter what we do, we can't beat 40 double misses. And then to Steve's point, then maybe we should look at what that means.
Yeah, I'm curious, what do you think you could get to?
I'll tell you right now, 33 will be a very daunting goal.
That's tough?
Yeah.
That's,
Sure.
I mean, that's less than a half of 1,000%. And I would challenge any hauler, excuse me, I'm Brett, I think you guys know.
Come on up.
We're opening the public hearing again.
Okay, sorry. I would challenge any hauler to do any better than that, to be honest with you. But, I mean, I appreciate the entire conversation, to be off with you. As long as we have public forum open, I do want to point out that not every franchise agreement has these kind of punitive liquidated damages. So, it's typical in some contracts. It's not typical in all contracts. So it's not a consistent, every hauler deals with this in every franchise agreement. So.
But this was in the contract.
It's in this one, for
It's in
sure.
this
It is a good idea.
Huh?
I think it is a good idea.
Not disagreeing, but I can tell you right now, and Marva's right, there's 20 different items in that franchise agreement that you could go after every one of them if you wanted to. I don't measure 20 operational items in my district to run my business every day. At some point in time, it becomes very cost prohibitive to do that. We're focused on it. The New Starts was a new one for us. I agree, we pulled that in there. It's kind of tainting. It put us over the threshold that we agreed on last year, that we all sat here and said, okay, get better at this, and I like the way you kind of broke that out, Paul. But obviously, we've already made some changes on the New Starts already. So, and we will go through all 20 of them and set some standards up for all that stuff and measure it, because we're obviously going to have to probably be reporting on that as time goes on.
Paul.
So, and maybe Curtis, you could help with this too. You were there when this contract was done. It seems odd to me that you have a metric that involves a penalty that allows zero of something. Is that, could you, the thought?
Wait, what do you? What?
We have a metric here for double missed pickups that says you can have zero, right? Anything over zero is a fine. What was the thinking at the time? And how many of those 20 metric? We have like 24 allowable missed new customers. We have zero on this. Is it reasonable that there's never a mistake, but of the other 18 metrics, do a lot of them have zero?
You're not going to the third column that says subject to liquidated damages, because it didn't really start at zero.
Allowed 24, and it
Yeah,
started.
I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember the zero.
No, 24 is allowed, and they were at 63, so they did damages of 39.
Yeah, right, I see.
So what I'm saying is we allow, I don't know if 24 is good for new customers. I don't know how many new customers you get a year. But this one for double missed says you can only have zero, and we start fining from the first one. That just seems odd to me that there's no threshold at all. And I'm just wondering, so on this one, what was the thinking in the contract? And then also on the other 18 that I don't know what they are, do they have zero, are they all zero thresholds? That seems very restrictive to anybody.
I think Marva would have a better answer to that.
I was asking because you were there.
Get Howard back here and he
Yeah.
might know.
Marva, please.
Oh, I was just, so for the double missed pickups, I think the idea with that is it means twice they've failed to do it with notice, 2 consecutive days. It's something that should never occur. Maybe you do have one miss, but to have it twice, the same location, so your garbage is now out for 2
It's a little right.
Two days.
But two things, let me ask you that, you could still pick it up late and it would be counted as a miss.
Yeah.
But I guess the part that confused me is then that's a report at the time with no tablets. That's a report from the customer. I put it out, they didn't pick it up.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
customer that's consistently late every week, which is there are probably some, would just say, well, that's 4 straight weeks. Well, if I don't put it out till Wednesday at 10, I know when your trucks come. I would miss it every week. So I hear the thing at 6:30 or 7. If I forgot, I'm running out. I hope your cameras don't pick me up. I'm running outside pushing the can down. But I just wonder.
I think to the point, the actual items for each failure to collect solid waste, recyclable materials, green waste, food scraps, or construction and demolition debris, which has been properly set out. I mean, the key is it's been properly set out. So if the customer says, you know, if it wasn't out, then that's not part of the numbers that we're calculating. It's,
Well,
But now we know, now we can tell that, we didn't know that before.
Before.
well, I mean, unless you can, exactly. I mean, I think, as Kirsten was saying, the point was, when it's happened to you 2 weeks in a row,
Right.
that's, from a customer
Agreed.
perspective, that's pretty frustrating.
Agreed.
When once is enough. But we've got, you know, so, yes, there are several others that have zeros, but there's only, well, there's five categories on 2 pages. It's not like there's an extensive list of performance standards. And all of these are ones that, in fact, they were carryover from the prior agreement. So WVCR has had these
I
same,
believe so, yeah.
these same criteria of what they were since the first contract. So they've been well aware of these, what they've agreed to, what they, you know, signed the agreement the first time, signed the agreement the second time, to 0 tolerance on that particular item.
Okay. Questions of the speaker? None? Then I'll close the public hearing. And Steve?
I'm trying to think back to college when we studied Japanese management philosophy, statistical process control, empowering the employees to do their quality control to get to 0 defects and all those kinds of things, you know? And that seems to work well when you have a factory, but this is kind of not a perfect science here. This is like you put the bin down and a couple hours later, the bum walks down the street, lifts up the lid, and somebody drives down the street and sees that a lid is open, right? And then they tell on themselves, and or whatever. There's a million variables here, and I think in theory you have to begin somewhere with how you measure the amounts of these things. You know, we all know that there's the person who goes to bed at night, falls asleep on the couch, and then runs out in the pajamas in the morning chasing the truck with their bin and all that stuff, right? I'm just trying to get down to fairness. I think, to me, the fees feel excessive considering, and I appreciate what Marva said about, you know, every single contract is the same and this is the way it's always been done and yada, yada, yada. But things evolve through time, and I just look at, overall, I think our community is very happy with the service they've been getting. I could speak for Los Gatos. I mean, I think I could probably speak for all of us, but let you guys weigh in on that. And maybe there is something we could do in the coming year to look at some of these metrics, and maybe we can put better ones in place and such. Maybe we can tweak the fines so they're, you know, not like $163 for one occurrence or whatever. That seems kind of excessive. You know, I don't know. There's things we could do moving forward. We have $39,000 to address right now. Paul, you suggested the original 22. They kind of did what we told them to do last time we said the motion, so push that off the table. Then you said, let's play the double or nothing game. Let's keep the existing fines out there and give them a chance to improve again? Or was it just the 10,000 that you said that on? What was it?
I was taking the missed pickup separate from the new customers. So,
Okay, so you're looking at
honor
the-
what we offered last time, but then give it the same, shoot for the same results and.
On both the double and the new?
I'm talking double. Let's start
Just
with the
double,
double. I just
okay.
wanted to separate them because I didn't see how we rolled the statistics of the new into the double.
No, the metrics next year at this time will be accurate. Because the only part that I have problem with is the people that say that they didn't get their trash picked up and they're actually making it up. So you know, because at my work we do a lot of research, and the metrics next year at this time will be very accurate, I suspect. If they're not, then your iPads are not doing a very good job. But I think that's not the case. So I'm following what you guys are saying, and I'm kind of agreeing that I think we still need to have something, but probably it's too excessive what we have in here now.
Can I try one motion then?
Sure.
Okay, let's do what I'm hearing from Paul and from Steve and saying, okay, we'll give the missed pickups a buy. We've seen the results. Let's use the double missed pickups, 10,000 for education. And let's return the 6388 to them to set up a new system like we did with the iPads next time. Do I have a second?
What does the 63, I guess I'm a little confused with the 6,300. What does that mean?
I'm giving it back to them
To do what with?
to make sure that they begin to ensure that they are not dinged this time, but that this will be in abeyance, the 6,300, to show that they have the same ability to improve the system the way they did with the iPads. So I'm hoping it's an incentive. We're not dinging them this time. We're hoping to see improvement next time like we did with the missed pickups. And then the only thing that we're taking is the double missed at about 11 for education, because we do need to move that needle. We do need to educate the community. We do need to be responsive to the laws that are coming down on garbage these days. The organics is going to be a huge issue.
Oh, absolutely.
Question for the maker of the motion. So would that 10,975 be retained by them to handle the education themselves among?
That's a good question.
Or would it be?
I was going to ask that same question.
Yeah, and
how would we
I would defer to Marva because she's been through these before, and she might have a better idea of how it could be expended.
I would say we could do it either way. It would be, I guess maybe what I would suggest is they could hold it for right now, but that we work together, staff and WVCR, to come up with specifically what public ed, what we want done with that. And it sounds like we need to be focusing on, maybe it's some type of litter or something that ties in with both of the agencies. But we can work with them, but I don't want it just thrown necessarily and assumed it's going to be done. We want to have something specific so we can come back to it.
I'm in total agreement with that.
Would it be possible to, until we figure that out, kind of postpone, that decision on that money, pending future discussion on where it's going to go, how it's going to be handled, what it's going to be used for? Because we got into the discussion about stickers one time.
Oh, geez, no.
Do you remember that? Were you here?
Well, I heard, yes.
So that was your first, that was 4 years ago.
That was my first meeting, yep.
And the problem we had with it is, okay, let's penalize them, let's go buy stickers, and we had some people say, let's put stickers on the bin, and some people say, we don't want stickers, some people say, let's give them to our public works, let's give it to our towns. We couldn't come to a conclusion, and right now there's some ambiguity about the programs, which programs, who's going to have the programs. I know as a board that, or whatever, as an entity, I haven't been actively involved in any training or creating any programs or anything. I would think it would have to come from the agency, the authority. They would get the state laws handed down. They would have to come up with a program. They would have to educate. They'd send out a mailer or a pamphlet or whatever, I would assume.
But they have to be accountable for that.
Yeah.
And they have to be accountable for that.
For what they're doing with the money.
Right. But that might already be part of what they're required to do.
Right, and
So
that's why we need to make sure of whatever, we need to come up with that. There are certain things they are required by contract to do, and they're already doing.
Right.
So we want whatever this new and improved whatever that we're wanting to come up with. And we could work with staff and with WVCR and come back to you in February with an idea of what that money could be
There are a
used
couple
for.
of things I think that will evolve, because this 1383 isn't through whatever it is, committee or something with what it's going. But Wesley even pointed out that they have worked with water before for outreach meetings, and there's programs like booths and building awareness, and then maybe even producing recyclables, reusables, here we go, bags, things like that. So can this be put into a separate fund and held, interest-bearing, with the idea that it will be used towards this sort of idea?
So we have done that in the past, where the board authorizes the collection of liquidated
liquidated damages and direct staff to hold the money until a future date. We've done different educational programs, other things, so you absolutely could do that.
Okay.
Question, if I may. So, going back to the discussion about the stickers, and I don't remember what happened with that, but
It went away.
we just went away. Like and I think we just put the money into the main slush, and now it's in our bank account all these years.
No,
later.
no, it just went back
Went back to the
in, and then it goes back to the individual
It
agencies.
gets
and-
spread out to the
and it
town.
gets spread out.
And-
Basically,
okay.
our budget, you know,
Okay, so,
reduce the cost in our budget.
okay,
So nothing is kept. We only have, in our budget, we have $200,000.
and then we return the overage every year,
Else
right?
goes back out to the
Okay.
individual agencies.
And in other years, you have used the money, you've held the money and then used it to help to stabilize the rate increases that we were anticipating. Not that this is a large sum of money to do that, but that is something that you could consider, because I think we are looking at significant rate increases with the composting.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about looking at this a little differently, that we got what we wanted, which was have it, which is why I suggested maybe we do that again. One of the things when we said we want that have, we also said accelerate the tablets, which they did, but aren't reflected in here. So I would hope that that's going to be able to cut this way down. We want to change the behavior. That's why I suggested that we basically do the same thing we did last year. If they don't make it, then we have 2 years' worth, and it can all go into the program you're talking about. But I don't know. I like we kind of threw it out there and said, do this, and they did it. I'd like to do that again with the use of the tablets for 12 months. That's just my thing.
Except that I have taken that off the board. I've said that
Okay.
money's good. That money goes back. We're not charging them that. I'm only looking at the 10,000.
Correct, but I'm saying now that we have I want to challenge them again I want the service to be improved for this metric. So that's why I was thinking it worked, let's do it again. If it doesn't work, then we're going to collect 2 years' worth. We are going to collect 2 years' worth if it doesn't work.
Question. So, Marilyn was proposing the $10,975 go towards education, potentially down the road. You're proposing the double or nothing deal that we had the previous year. We let them off the hook for the 22. They have improved. We're going to assess them the $10,975 plus the $63.88.
No, that goes back towards developing a new program.
That will still go back.
Yes.
Well,
So it's not 17 that we're looking at, it's 10 that we're looking at, and they get the credit for the 6 to improve the program.
okay. So that's what you're proposing?
No, I'm saying
He's
with the
giving it all back.
10,975, do we want to hold, I'm not giving it back unless they meet some goals we set.
Well, your
like we
idea
did
is to
last
do
year.
the double or nothing deal, hold the 10,975 plus the 63.88,
No,
and
the
then if
six-
their metrics improve, then we let them off the hook for that next
Well,
time.
the 6388, I'm sorry, you proposed
You put
starting
both of them
that
in.
as a new metric or something, or I'm a little confused what you said about the 6388.
I'm saying this, we do what I guess Steve is calling the double or nothing with the 6388, is say, take that money and use it to improve the system so that you can regulate the same way you
Okay,
did with the
so
pads.
separate from the missed pickups, we're kind of,
Definitely.
it's easier when we talk about it separately to me, anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
So the motion was forgive the